So today, this is the first video or episode of this mini series kind of that I want to do. So basically I'm just going to be explaining my story Quarian on Earth, and it's going to be 3 videos for now at least. I might add more in the future, might make more, but for now I've planned out 3 videos, and today we're doing the first one, which is going to be the history of Quaria, which is the planet. It's not real, if you couldn't tell, but it's just gonna be me explaining stuff. I'm gonna read this script introduction thingy, which is kind of like a cut down version of everything. It's not every little detail because I don't want to bore you with facts right at the beginning of the story, but I'm gonna read you that and then just fill you in on some extra stuff that I couldn't really fit in there. Next video I'm gonna talk about my characters, and then the third video is going to be more plot, what I want to do in the future, and some stuff about back in 2020 when I first made this story and these characters and stuff. And I'm not a writer, by the way. I'm not a writer, but I'm going to read you the little introduction thingy. I'm not confident in my writing skills whatsoever. I would write stuff for school, but that's all the experience I have. And I don't know why I thought it would be a good idea to write a fantasy romance, because I read romance books, but I don't read fantasy at all. So, I mean, I like fantasy movies and I like drawing fantasy things, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm just gonna read you the thing now. Okay, so our story begins long ago on a planet called Quaria. The people were heavily divided by their wealth and royalty. Anyone could fly and anyone could read minds, but only the wealthy had more special abilities. After the incident that no one speaks of, the population of 2 small planets had to move to Quaria. No one knows what truly happened, but Leor and Athena had terrible living conditions and their people had to leave. After decades of Quarians, Leorns, and Athenians living in harmony, the planet changed. Their cultures started to blend together, and so modern-day Quaria was born. Leor had very advanced technology to make up for the fact that they had no magic or powers. Their planet had teleportation systems, floating buildings, and transport, and Quaria inherited a lot of that. Athena, on the other hand, was behind on the technological side. They had a lot of knowledge about their planet's history and exotic plant life. Athenians used natural medicine and did things in a more traditional way. Each Athenian had powers based on an element. They lived in cute cottages and big communities. They took that architecture style with them and updated it with Leorn's tech. Although this changed a big part of Quaria, the castle ruins stayed the same. The royals lived in big, intimidating, sharp towers, but weren't considered better than the average Quarian anymore. That hierarchy had disappeared. In those castle ruins is where our story truly begins. I don't know. So yeah, and then we would transition into Venus's childhood because she grew up in the castle ruins area. I don't know why I named it that. I don't know why I even thought of that. I don't even know if that makes sense, but that's the name, I guess. And I didn't really name any other sections or neighborhoods or whatever, because to explain, Quaria it's nothing like Earth. Humans, I haven't really decided if they know that Quaria exists as a planet. They probably do. It would have to be kind of far away for them not to know that it even exists. But if they do, they have no idea that there's any life on it. I don't know anything about space, okay? So don't mind the fact that it probably makes 0 sense scientifically, but let's just say that Quaria has gravity and air and oxygen and stuff. So when Venus comes to Earth, she's not suffocating to death or anything. And the physics part is probably similar, I guess, but they can fly, so it's I don't know. It's magic, okay? If anything doesn't make sense, just suck it up to magic. It's fine, okay? I don't know. Quarians do know about humans. They would probably learn about Earth at school or something like that. But it's nothing like Earth. They don't have countries and rulers or whatever. Basically, imagine that they did have rulers and royalty, I suppose, in the past. Just like there are the castle ruins, there would be different neighborhood type areas or sections that would have different names. But it was all kind of just a part of this one big community, things were in the past, right? They had this hierarchy or something, you know how you learned about that stuff in history class. Imagine that, except after Leorns and Athenians came to Quaria, that practically disappeared completely over time. Now there are still the royals, I guess, the royal family that are technically royal by blood, and it wouldn't they wouldn't be considered royal whatsoever if it wasn't for the fact that they do have additional powers. If we take that with Venus, for example, she can not only, you know, do the basic reading mind and flying, but she can also talk to animals. And when she's happy or excited, or she has like overly positive emotions, she like creates bubbles, which is irrelevant. I need to stop talking about Venus because this is about Quaria in general, but just for reference, that's kind of how it works. So if they didn't have additional powers, that really wouldn't matter that much, but she does still live in like the castle ruins or whatever. But those rulers now kind of just like take care of the neighborhoods and like make sure everything's good, and they're kind of like, they organize stuff. Her mom does, like Venus's mom does work kind of as like she just makes sure the community is alright and stuff, but she is treated like a normal, I almost said human being, she's not human, but yeah. I'm gonna talk a bit about like the physical attributes that I can't really, I wouldn't explain them with words, because, you know, show not tell, I guess. I'm trying to do more show not tell, because I think that technically makes it better, like storytelling, but some things like will need to be explained. Like I could have probably showed most of this with like some kind of storyline, but explaining it like in a narrator voice, I guess, it works, especially if I just add a bunch of visuals and like explain some things that I didn't really talk about with visuals, and I think it'll make sense. So for example, when I do show how Athenians or Leorns lived, like I'll show like visuals of them doing things with their powers or something, and I'll also show how they dressed and their like attributes and like what makes them look, you know, Leorns or Athenians, like not human, instead of like explaining the fact that Athenians have those like little butterfly ears, as I call them, and then Leorns have more like animal attributes, like they have hooves, I think, at the bottom of their feet or something. I don't know how I drew their feet, just something like that. And they have like little horns or like pig ears for this one, how I drew it, I don't know. And then Athenians, they can have like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 of those little like butterfly ears. I don't know how else to call them, but you can see the drawings. I'm gonna put up stuff on screen. Quarians, on the other hand, have like antlers and elf ears, so that kind of differentiates them. Each Athenian has a power based on an element, and kind of, you know, like an avatar or something. Like imagine that, or I don't know what other shows there are that use that kind of like elemental thing, but that kind of vibe where it's like earth, fire, water. For example, if like you have 2 parents that have like water powers, there's a bigger chance for the child to also have water powers, but it's not 100% dependent on genetics. Also with time, Quarians that have like, you know, additional powers or that are royalty would probably have kids with Quarians that are not considered royalty. So, or like with Leorns or Athenians, which if they are different species, then please do not think about how like that would work, but let's just say it would, and they're not like the biological stuff would totally make sense. But over time you would get people that are like half and half or something, or someone that would have like the little like kids would get born with like the Athenian ears, but then they would have no powers like the Leorns, or they would have the ability to fly maybe from their other Quarian parent. I don't know, just more, you know, people would get mixed, right? I don't know. And then, not to spoil too much of my entire story, but like then maybe that would happen with humans too, all thanks to someone, because I want most of the story to be focused on the main characters, right? The main 4, but mostly Venus and Jason, and then also like Liam and Mia, because they're like a part of the little friend group, they're helping out, right? So I wanted to mostly be focused on this, so that's why like most of the lore and the mysteries and stuff, like the incident or whatever, I don't know what that is yet. Well, I'll talk a bit more about it, but for like the most of the story, like we don't focus too much on that like mysterious stuff that happened to like maybe that's maybe connected to Venus's dad, or the glitch that happened to the teleportation system, and why like the entire plot even happened in the first place, and like all that like mysterious stuff of like what even happened to the populations, and like or the terrible living conditions, and like why did they even have to leave, like all that like mystery stuff, maybe something to do with magic or something, blah blah blah. All that stuff is like not explored in this story pretty much at all, because it's focused on these more like main characters, these 4 main characters, and like most of the story happens on Earth anyways. But I do want to explore that, but I'll talk a bit about, I have to stop myself from talking about it because I want to like the 3 videos, I want them to be more separate, but my point is it does become something bigger than that at the end of the story, and also it does I plan on it becoming something even bigger than that, and like all those mysteries being explored in the future with something else. But again, I'll stop myself from talking about that. I hope this makes sense. I'm gonna put up a bunch of visuals of like how Quaria would look and concept art and like how Quarians look and their history and like the way they would dress and stuff, but I'm also going to mention that stuff in the next video when I talk about Venus's childhood, because you know, her mother, she was a little bit more traditional, I guess. She was kind of more proud of the fact that they are royalty or whatever and felt the need to live up to that. We'll move on to that in the next video, so I could spend more time explaining stuff, but I'm not going to. So hope you enjoyed the video. Kind of short, but that's just because the introduction was short and that was kind of the main thing that I was reading. I remember when I first was going to film this entire voiceover, back when I was planning on doing one whole like hour-long video about Quarian on Earth. Thankfully I split it up into pieces, because otherwise this would be very messy. But it really was very messy. I don't even think I scripted it, or maybe I had bullet points, but everything was a mess. I had no idea where to start, and it was just a lot of me rambling about random things. So this in comparison feels very short, like I feel like I'm missing something, but all the stuff that I would miss, I'm just gonna fill it in when I talk about the characters, because I can't really talk too much about it without like transitioning into characters, and that's for the next video. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I don't know if that's gonna be the next video I make or maybe a couple of videos later, but yeah, stay tuned for that. And I hope you enjoyed the video. So yeah, thanks for watching, I guess, and I will see you in my next video. So bye bye. Yeah.